Good morning guys, welcome back to another episode of Bareham Engines. So first things first this morning, we're going to head out into the workshop. I'm going to show you a bit of flywheel setting up action. I know I've showed you 2 or 3 times how to reface a flywheel, but I don't think I've actually showed you how we set it up. So what we do, use a 3-jaw chuck, normally clamp it very lightly on either the ring gear or the back edge, and get it sort of roughly in line. So you just sort of do it by feel on each of the chuck jaws. So it's sort of running roughly right. Then we get our DTI gauge here, and we just put it on one of the outer edge, probably the further out the better. Going in, pushing the DTI in is sort of goes clockwise. So what we do, just put it in, pop it on 0. Then what we do is we take the machine and put it into neutral, obviously with the machine off, just so we can turn it by hand. Then you notice as you turn the chuck by hand, when it goes clockwise to its furthest point, you know that is the point that is furthest out. So what we do is we take our soft mallet, obviously rubber end, and we just knock that back and then try again. Now what you find with some of these flywheels is, because they've been through heat and what have you, they're never absolutely true, or very rarely absolutely true. So if we spin this up now, you can see that needle fluctuating backwards and forwards. That's because it's sort of been through a heat cycle. So that there, as long as that there is about as true as you're going to get that, to be honest with you. So I'm more than happy with that. So what we do, put the chuck key in and just tighten it up. Just double check it. So you ignore the fluctuating. As long as it doesn't sort of fluctuate like that, you know that if it's staying around the same area, you know that is as true as you're going to get that flywheel. So now what we do, remove the DTI, and you notice the mating face. Now this is a twin plate clutch on this, so the clutch mounts on here, and the plate mounts on here. So this is the other way round to a normal step flywheel. Usually a single clutch plate will mount sort of higher than the plate goes. So what we've got to do, we've got to ensure that ends up the same distance to there once you've finished facing it. So whatever you take off there, you have to take off that face too. First of all, we're going to get the height gauge and measure that. We've got a step here from here to here, but that is just wear, because the center, obviously where the clutch plate's been running in here, that has worn it. So the outer edges are as they should be. So we sort of mount that across there like that. You can see that wear gap in between, and then we just wind the gauge in, and what we are getting there is 102 thou, dead on. So we just bear that in mind now, and we start refacing this until we get a clean face. So we're going to start with a 15 thou cut, and that's 15 thou from the centre of the wear, not from the outer edge to where the height should be. Now what we're looking for is all those hard spots that you can see going around there. All the dark spots are hard areas, and we're looking for the removal of those. So that is the first cut, and you can see here now, which look like light areas, that is your hard areas. So now we're going to do another 15 thou cut and see if we can get underneath those. So there we go guys, we've got a nice clean face on there now, and I've just measured with the height gauge here, and we're left with 38 thou. So now we've got to remove 64 thou. That's how much we've had to take off that. So now we've got to remove 64 thou off this face here. So just doing our first cut. It's a 15 thou cut, so in theory 4 cuts of that. and we should be back to where we started. So there we go, guys. I've even turned the outer step there just so it's looks like original, right up until we get to the crank sensor lugs here. I don't want to take them off, but that's 102 foul, back to how it should be. So we're going to get this sent off to Charlie now for CTM, because this is for the Renault V6. So the clutch cover is all good. As I say, it's a twin plate clutch. They're just going to replace the plates. Flywheel's done, crank's all ready to go. Rods, pistons, bearings, all the rest of it. So yeah, all good. So there we go, guys. I've even turned the outer step there just so it's looks like original, right up until we get to the crank sensor lugs here. I don't want to take them off, but that's 102 foul, back to how it should be. So we're going to get this sent off to Charlie now for CTM, because this is for the Renault V6. So the clutch cover is all good. As I say, it's a twin plate clutch. They're just going to replace the plates. Flywheel's done, crank's all ready to go. Rods, pistons, bearings, all the rest of it. So yeah, all good. Right, guys, I would just like to thank the very kind subscriber for buying us these. So, as many of you may know, from down in the comments, people are always commenting on the way we cover engines. They say don't use sheets, you know, the bits off the sheets can go in the engines. It looks untidy because all the shit, they're old bed sheets basically we use. So yeah, we understand that doesn't look good, guys. So one of our lovely subscribers have bought us these. So these are huge plastic sheets. What they are meant for, I do not know. But I've emailed him saying thank you very much indeed. Didn't have to do that for us, but he has. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover each engine with this. Probably not the engines that need to be stripped and cleaned anyway, but the clean engines and the ones that are in progress with being built, we're going to cover them in these. But to top it off, guys, to make it look nice, because obviously we listen to you and we want you all to be happy, and we want to look a bit more professional as time goes on. So we've had these made. They are a sort of fleecy blanket, but they are, you know, no bits come off them. But we're going to, as I say, we're going to cover the engines with the plastic covers first. But these just give a nice sort of, I don't know, keep the engine warm maybe, but they just look nice with our logo on when people come in. I mean, we've only had them on for a couple of days and everyone that's come in says, blimey, they don't half look flash. So yeah, we've got a handful of these made, guys, you can see. So let me know down in the comments what you think about those. I think they look a lot more professional, and as I say, with the plastic sheets on, there's certainly not going to be any bits go in those engines that are in progress of being built. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. As I say, we do our best to read through the comments and keep you lot happy. And obviously, yeah, we understand it's a lot better for the engines that are being built to keep the crap out. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. Fun and games here. We got the bearings laid out for the Renault V6 over there. So just to recap, Scott sent us in a load of bearings, Scott from SG Motorsport. All the bearings he got from stock. These are all original items. As you can see, they're colour coded by the trays. You've got yellow, red, black, and here you've got some blues. So these are colour coded. So the colour codes just sort of, they vary in size very slightly. And what you find is on the crank and the block, you will have a sort of code, either a letter or a number. Or on the big ends, you have actually got the colour on the side of the bearing. So all the originals, fortunately, are coloured yellow. So that is the big end sorted, because the only colour Scott has got is yellow. So whether they're just all yellow anyway. I've had a good sieve through this, because he, to be fair, he hadn't really got a clue what he got here. But what we found is all the bearings with the holes in, so these are the block bearings on the mains. As I say, we haven't got to worry about the big ends. We sorted them. All the block bearings are one type, and they are on the originals. It's all the same numbers. So thankfully, you've got the thrusts here, which is the main with the built-in thrusts. These are not the separate thrusts. So we've got those which are all one type, so you can't go wrong with those. And again, although the backings are slightly rusty on some of them, we can clean those up. They are all one size. So I've sorted out the best of what we've got there. So they can all go in the block. But the cap main bearings are all coded. So these are all the built-in thrust type. These are the thrust bearings, and these are the normal cap types. Okay, so the only trouble I've got is I'm struggling to find the code or the chart as to what all this lot means. So I rang Scott this morning, and he's of agreement. What I'm going to do is, fortunately, because all these can just go straight in the block and the crank can go in the block once it's all been balanced, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a yellow in each of the cap mains, and then the reds and the blacks, and I'm going to get Paul to plastic gauge all those individually just to see what the difference is, what we've got, and then I'm going to fit the bearings that I'm happy with, because obviously we're not grinding the crank, it's a second-hand crank, so it could vary very slightly. So we're going to run the running clearance that we want to run with the bearings that we've got. So I said to him, it's going to take a bit longer, obviously, but I'll be far more happier doing that. To be honest with you, with these colour-coded bearings, like on the bikes, even fitting the bearings it says on the chart and on the crank and the block, I always would like to measure it and plastic gauge it anyway, individually, just to make sure that it's going to be absolutely cock on. So that's what we've been doing this morning, sorting all those out. This is the flywheel for it. It's a very small clutch, but it's a twin plate clutch. Now the plates are not very good. It's a second-hand cover, but the cover's perfect. The plates and that Scott's going to replace, so all we need is the cover to balance the assembly anyway. So we've got the crank here, all been checked, perfect. We've got a com rod. This is just an old piston I'm going to send with Charlie, just so he can compare if need be with the new one. We've got a ring set, gudgeon pin, circlips, a set of big end shells that we're going to use. You see this on the side here. That is the colour yellow look, so they're the ones we're using, and that is pretty much all he needs. So we're going to send that off to Charlie and get him to balance all that for us, and when he gets back we can go persist in plastic gauging these mains and make sure that they're perfect. Well, thanks ever so much for watching, guys, yet again. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in another episode. You take care. Cheers, guys.